Well, next week, all 5 of Duluth's Medal of Honor recipients will be remembered at a seminar and dinner at Veterans Memorial Hall at the Duluth Depot. And for the first time, all 5 Medals of Honor will be on display. Here to tell us more is Mike Stainbrook, the Master of Ceremonies for next week's dinner. Mike is a former Marine and a retired Delta Airlines captain. And Court Story is the nephew of Medal of Honor recipient Major Henry Courtney, Jr., and helped return his medal to Duluth early this year. Gentlemen, great to have both of you here. Maybe, Mike, you could tell us a little bit about what's coming up a week from today, next Friday.
Well, on November 15th, down at the depot, the evening event will be a Veterans Remembrance Dinner. We'll have the 5 Medals of Honor on display. The families of our 5 area recipients will be in attendance, and they've agreed to bring their medals. Yeah. And earlier in the day at 2 o'clock at the Playhouse, there's going to be a leadership seminar hosted by General Neal, former 4-star general in the Marine Corps. He was also General Schwarzkopf's spokesman during the first Gulf War. It's going to be co-hosted with a local historian. Well, actually, he's a Twin Cities historian and attorney, Alan Anderson, who has written a book on our 5 recipients. Actually, we've included Richard Bong in the book. Richard Bong was born in Superior,
right?
But we're including him in the book and in our discussions. So those who attend the seminar will receive a book. The evening event, those attendees will receive the book written by Alan Anderson. Plus, we're going to unveil a print, a limited edition print that was painted by local artist Tim Cortez. And those are going to be for sale. In fact, I see it on the screen there. It's a beautiful print. Dinner will be served. General Neal will be the keynote speaker that evening as well. We're going to award the Mike Calillo Scholarship and also unveil the print. So it's going to be a very full day.
Court, you were instrumental in getting your uncle's medal back to Duluth. He was a Duluth native.
That's right.
Tell the story of Henry Courtney and how he earned that Medal of Honor, or
it'll be
why
hard
he
to do
received it.
briefly, but he was a Marine that born and raised in Duluth, went to school at the University of Minnesota, went to law school down at Loyola in Chicago, entered the Marine Corps, was first talked to him in 1939, entered in 1940, spent his 5 years in the Marine Corps and was in the Pacific twice, and was sent home with malaria to recover, was offered a training billet, and requested to go back, volunteered to go back to the front because he was older. When he was killed in action, in the action for which he was awarded the Medal of Honor, he was 29 years old. So he was 10 or 12 years older than a lot of the troops that he commanded, and he referred to them as his boys. And he loved them and he wanted to be there. And there's a lot written about that in letters that he wrote to the family and that others wrote about him, of his love and wanting to get these kids back home. So that's as brief as I can make it, and I could go into the battle, but I don't know if we have time for that, but it was quite a campaign.
Why was it important to you to bring that medal back to Duluth?
Well, Duluth is his hometown. He was born here, raised here, educated here. The family was part of the community for a half a century. His father and his father's brother were attorneys here and practiced together. Henry passed the law exam. He was going to be in the law firm when he got out of the Marine Corps after the war. That never happened. And this is, of course, his sister was my mother and born and raised here. And it was given by another sister to a place in Pennsylvania. And when things began happening in Duluth down at the Union Hall to make a place for the medal, I and others, including Mike and other veterans up here and our family, felt this medal should be in Minnesota. This is his hometown.
This is a big deal for Duluth.
Yeah.
And people will have an opportunity to see these Where will they be on display for?
Well, they'll be right down there, and the Henry's medal will be there indefinitely. It's on a long-term loan.
It's in the depot, right?
In the depot, along with one other, I think it's Oscar Nelson's medal. They're permanently there, well, permanently, but on loans, at least Henry's is. The other three are being brought in by their families, and they'll only be there that one day.
Right, yeah.
And they'll all be on display there. And I'm not sure exactly where.
Mike, briefly, what's the history of the Medal of Honor? How far back does it go, do you know?
Well, it goes back to the Civil War.
It does.
And at the time, they were not awarded for valor. In fact, there's a woman who received the Medal of Honor. She was an Army, working for the Army as a surgeon. And so there is one woman who received the Medal of Honor. Around 1917, there was a decision made that the Medal of Honor would only be given for acts of valor against an armed enemy. For instance, Oscar Nelson's Medal of Honor, interesting thing about Oscar Nelson, his was a peacetime Medal of Honor. He was aboard the USS Bennington out in San Diego Harbor. There was a boiler explosion. In 1905 is when he was awarded that. He came back to Duluth and served with the Army Corps of Engineers in Duluth for 24 years. Yeah. That's the Oscar Nelson connection to Duluth. But his medal is a peacetime Medal of Honor. His was awarded in 1905. But
so
after
it goes
that,
back a ways, doesn't
yes.
it? Yes.
Yeah. And then after World War, or during World War I is when it was only given for acts of valor against an armed enemy.
Mm-hmm. As a former military man yourself, what does it mean to you to be bringing these medals and to have these stories told and these folks memorialized?
Well, first, Veterans Memorial Hall feels it important to tell not only the stories of Medal of Honor recipients, but of all veterans. And it's available for any veteran. You can go online to the St. Louis County Historical Society website, the Veterans Memorial Hall link, and you can fill out your history there, or you can ask for an oral history. A volunteer will come and record your oral history, and it'll be put in the archives down there. So it's important to tell all veteran stories, not just Medal of Honor recipients. However, so many of the stories revolving around our Medal of Honor recipients are just so incredible. And you know, the selflessness, and it's just almost beyond comprehension. I think that's what tugs at your heartstrings.
Court, there seems to be an uptick in how Americans now are honoring and just giving honor to veterans today. Why do you think that is?
That's a very good question. I'm not sure I would have seen it that way. I wish there was more. You know, we all get worked up about sports heroes, and you know, it's just the way it is, and I think these things are forgotten and they shouldn't be. If I could add another point, I think this book that Alan Anderson has written that's going to be distributed is a godsend, because part of what happened here is that in the pursuit of Henry Courtney, my uncle's medal, the group came together, and when we were finally successful and the medal came back, it was very clear to us that the stories of these other four were not told very well or very thoroughly. And so Alan Anderson has deeply researched these people and where they were born, where they were raised, how they got in the service, what they did. And this is not some little pamphlet. This is a good book. There's a history of the Medal of Honor in there.
We're running out of time. Can you tell us again Friday night, when and where?
Friday night, the afternoon sessions at 2 o'clock in the Union Depot in the theater portion.
Playhouse.
And then the remembrance dinners in the Grand Hall or Great Hall of the Union Depot.
Again, I can't stress this is a big event.
Everyone who attends the seminar gets a copy of the book?
Copy of the book, yep.
And the dinner.
And are there still opportunities for people to sign up?
Yes, there's a waiting list for the dinner. However, there's plenty of seats for the seminar at the Playhouse.
Okay, Mike, Court, thank you both very much.
Thanks for having us.